Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to head back to Latvia once again for the first time in what feels like a good little while. Now we're going to return to a brewery that has featured on the channel many times before. These guys are one of the real pioneers of the Latvian brewing scene, a very well respected name in the country and Europe more widely these days. And if people were to ask me about this brewery, I would say that they're probably best known for their different kinds of New England hazy, whatever you want to call them, IPAs. They've done a lot of really nice fruity, juicy, smoothie, whatever we're going to call them, sour beers over the years as well. And I've also had some really good big imperial stouts too. So quite a well-rounded brewery, although I haven't seen too many different styles outside of those ones that I just mentioned from them. So hopefully that's something that we see going forward. But the beer we're going to have a look at today is a style that I've had from these guys many times before, one that I know they can do quite well. It is on the stronger side of this style category. I can't remember whether I've had this specific sub-style from them before actually, but it's also somewhat of a special release beer for these guys as well, or a special occasion release I guess we could call it. So needless to say, I'm very, very curious to see what this beer is going to have in store for us. Hopefully it's another good beer. Hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and as always, I hope that you guys watching enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this review then, we are going to head to Latvia, like I said. We are going to go to the capital region, Riga, which is kind of in the western part of the country, I guess we could say. And then we're going to go a little bit to the northeast of the city to a place called Eimuri, which is in the Ādāži region. And that, of course, means that we're going to have a look at another beer from the wonderful Ārpus Brewing Company. So this particular beer comes in at 11% ABV. It is called the 7th Anniversary Quintuple Dry Hopped Quadruple IPA. So yeah, I couldn't find out exactly what hops were in this one. Usually Arpus will tell you, but I don't see it listed on the can here. But yeah, their 7th Anniversary Quintuple Dry Hopped Quadruple IPA. This is yet another beer that I bought from the wonderful Gur Beer in Chimchache in Kowloon here in Hong Kong. So yeah, we get Arpus quite regularly, and I always enjoy trying a beer or two from these guys when we get those releases. So this is one of the breweries that I really recommend you check out, probably the most well-known of the Latvian craft breweries, but there are more and more of those popping up these days. But yeah, let's crack on with this one then and see how we go. So, as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting though, just fast forward. All the usual links can be found in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Ārpus Brewing Company before, and we will no doubt add more to that list at some point in the near future. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support that you give is massively appreciated, and remember you can go into the channel homepage and search for beer using the geography tagging system. So just go in there, use the little search bar, put in your hometown, state, county, province, whatever you like. If I've reviewed beers from the area that you search for, they will pop up. Failing that though, you can check out the playlist of beers from different countries. You'll find this one in the Latvian playlist along with a number of other things. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity, although not as often as I would like, of course. I'd love to do more Latvian breweries here on Rampant Lion Reviews, but do make sure you check out the playlist of beers from other countries as well, because there are some very interesting things on the channel these days, even if I do say so myself. But yeah, let's go on to my brewery notes then, and I'll tell you a wee bit about Ārpus Brewing Company once again then. So, Ārpus Brewing Company, as I've told you already, are from Latvia, and the company was founded back in 2017 by two homebrewers. This was Jirs Tihomirovs and Vladimir Berezins. So these guys started off as a gypsy brewery, and they were based primarily in Riga, and the first year they brewed at 4 different breweries around the country, and they said that this really helped them understand how to operate different brewing equipment. So it was a really good investment in learning for starting up their own facility. In 2019 though, they received funding from the Latvian Investment and Development Agency and also the EU Agricultural Fund for Rural Development, and they invested about 200,000 euros in their own brewery in Eimuri in the Ādāži region, which you'll find just to the northeast of Riga. But the new brewery helped them increase their output quite dramatically, and they apparently export about 90% of the beer that they produce. So the brewery are operating a 2,000 litre brew kit, and they've got several 2,000 and 4,000 litre fermentation vessels, and their fermentation capacity has just been gradually increased over the last few years. But the name Arpus that they chose for the brewery comes from a Latvian word that means outside of the box, so that is why the Arpus symbol is the box, basically. So yeah, Arpus, we're thinking outside of the box about beer. There you go. But as of January 2025, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced over 100 different kinds of beer according to Untappd. And like I said to you earlier, these guys are producing mostly New England hazy IPAs, fruity, smoothie, sour type beers, and then also the big sort of sweet imperial stouts. I don't know if you can really term them pastry, because they're not quite pastry in that sense, but yeah, those are the three styles that this brewery is most well known for. But yeah, that is everything I can really tell you about Ārpus Brewing Company for the moment. A very well respected brewery, very, very good quality, and you will find some very good beers in the Baltic countries these days, and they actually get exported quite widely because those countries are small in population, and so yeah, a lot of them export, like, you know, about 2/3 or more of their output. So you get very, very good beer from the Baltic countries for actually quite cheap at Western European prices. So win-win, I guess. But yeah, if you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a wee bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, that's everything we can say about the brewery. And like I said to you earlier, there wasn't any information on what hops were in this one as far as I could see. So yeah, just let me pause a wee second and I'll just do a wee quick Google. Okay, so that very quick Google found that it's not even listed on the Arpus website, so I guess we're not going to know the hops in this one. But like I said earlier on, an 11% quintuple dry hopped quadruple IPA. This one, for me, the quadruple sort of range, if you like, would be from 10% up to 12%. I actually thought when I bought this one it was a quintuple IPA as well, and I thought that's kind of why it caught my attention. But still, it's an Arpus hazy IPA. It's going to be pretty damn good. But I'll let you have a wee look at the artwork for this one before we open up. There you can see the guy's kind of rowing his boat home, which I thought was quite funny. But yeah, plain silver top on the can there. This one is a 440ml can. They had 2 or 3 other beers that they released for their 7th anniversary. There was a hazy IPA, I think there was a smoothie sour as well, and there was also another imperial stout. But I felt I hadn't had an Arpus IPA in a while, so that's why I chose this one. And yeah, of course, when you're talking Hong Kong prices, there's really not much difference in price between an IPA and like a quadruple IPA like this. So of course, I'm going to go for the bang for your buck one. So yeah, this is the one of the 4 7th anniversary beers that I will be reviewing for you. But yeah, I can't really tell you much about what hops and things are in this one, so I think we can just get this guy out and have a little look at it and see. But yeah, there's a wee look at the Ārpus Brewing Company symbol for you. So let's get this guy out and see what it's all about. So there we go. Ooh. There we got all of it out at once. There we are. So that looks lovely, I have to say. Very impressed with this. So anyway, you can see we've got all of the beer out and into the glass, and it's poured with a finger of a frothy, I would say slightly cream coloured head. Medium-sized bubbles on the surface of the liquid, a little bit foamier the further up that we go. But yeah, lovely colour on this one, I have to say. I would describe this one as being along the lines of like mango juice. I always like comparing the colour of different New England IPAs to fruit juices, because that's really just what they remind me of, in all honesty. So remember, the colour of your beer depends on a few things. 1, the type of malts that you use. This goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. 2, length of your wort boil is going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker colour of beer. But any barrel aging that you do or adjuncts you put into the beer will affect its colour as well. But you don't often have to care about that with different kinds of IPAs, of course. You can see the head has just receded a little bit. I'll just let you have a wee look at that, bring it closer to the camera. But yeah, it looks pretty nice actually. But yeah, 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking toward the side of the glass, a few little ones going up toward the bottom of the head there. The level of haze in this one, it's kind of what you'd expect. It's not the soupiest and gloopiest of high ABV hazy IPAs that I've come across, but yeah, it's kind of what you'd expect. The haze in these beers, of course, depends on oak content, wheat content, and to a degree what yeast you use. So that can vary from brewery to brewery and beer to beer. But I think we've said everything we need to about the appearance of this beer, in all honesty. So let's go on and have a wee look at the aroma of this one. I'm very curious, and I wonder if we can guess some of the hops that are in this. But yeah, if we can't, I'm sure it'll be very good anyway. It's getting harder and harder to play guess the hops with beers these days because there are so many. But yeah, aroma-wise, that is very, very nice. I'm going to say that straight away. Yeah, for me, it's a very soft, juicy New England IPA, this one. Lovely bright green component, a nice big backbone. You'd expect that from a quadruple IPA, of course. I think when you go to the higher ABV within the New England hazy category, they start using a little bit of brew sugar to kind of push the alcohol up just that little bit further. So they tend to be a little bit sweeter than maybe the triples or the doubles, actually. But yeah, for me, a New England IPA, but when it comes to the malty and yeasty side of things, there's 6 things to think about. You've got the sort of farmhousey, yeasty type character and the rye lean and grainy side of things. Those are a bit more common in New England brewed New England IPAs, because the style, of course, started off as a farmhouse IPA, but then you have wheaty bitiness, oaty creaminess, barley malt bread, and also the sweeter side of things as well. And as the style moved away from New England to other places, it's really leaned more toward those kind of 4 variables, if you like. But yeah, for me, this one's got a good balance between the barley and the oats. I think it's quite an oaty leaning New England IPA, this, but it's not overly sweet, actually. You can smell a little bit of the wheat in there as well, for sure. So yeah, let's just break the aroma down a little bit and describe it more in depth for you. So the backbone of the beer is, of course, like a kind of fresh white bready bread crust. There's little hints of wood in there. There's a little bit of a crackery note to it as well. I do actually get a very slight yeasty kind of farmhousey crackery bread at the back of the nose, so that's definitely noticeable in here. So yeah, definitely got that kind of note in here. But yeah, there's a little tiny touch of brown bread, but not too much. And absolutely, you've got different white breads in here. You can smell the more dense, wheaty white bread, and there's a wee bit of bitiness at the back of the nose there as well, which is usually your indicator of wheat. European wheat is a little bit more bitey, of course. American wheat, I think, is a little bit smoother. But yeah, you also have a really nice little bit of like fluffier white bread in there. But yeah, the more that I smell of this one, the more I get a kind of farmhousey, yeasty, kind of crackery type note. It's one of the, I forget which yeast it is that does that, but there's one of the popular New England hazy IPA yeasts that will give you this crackery, bready sort of thing. The likes of, Apex Brewing in Sweden used to love using these. And it smells, this beer actually really reminds me of those Apex hazy IPAs. So yeah, for me, on top of those white bread notes, you can smell the oats, and as I've often said, oats are a good indicator in New England IPAs of how fresh your beer is. Now granted, I bought this one before I went away to Japan for Christmas, so I'm not drinking this one at its freshest. I think I'm drinking this one when it's about maybe 6 to 8 weeks old, something like that. So yeah, it says it's best before the 30th of November, so I'm guessing it was canned in late November. I'm sure I bought this one in mid-December here in Hong Kong, so it's getting here quite fast actually. But yeah, so I'm drinking this one, yeah, probably about 6 weeks old roughly. 5 weeks old, 6 weeks old, something like that. But you can smell the oats, it's giving you a little bit of dryness. And as I said, the fresher your beer is, the more creamy the oats are, the older it is, the drier they are. But yeah, American oats are a bit drier than European oats, which are a bit more creamy. So yeah, this beer, you do get a little bit of that oaty creaminess in there. You can smell a bit of the drier side of the oat coming through as well. And interestingly, for an 11%er, it's not all that sweet actually. It's just got quite a nice level of like Werther's Original Butter Candy Butterscotch in it. So yeah, I like it. Really, really nice. Good stuff. Yeah, so quite happy with the malty backbone in this one. This beer, I will say, the green component It smells like there's like cryo or incognito or something in here. The green component in this beer smells very, very, very smooth. So yeah, the cryo hop things, they'll always smoothen out your green component a wee bit. But yeah, there's a teeny little bit of earthiness in there. There's some nice kind of floral notes, and there's a bit of a light grassiness. I mean, I really like that. And as I say, it's very smooth and very, very, very oily actually, which is good. In terms of the fruity side of the beer, need to think about that a wee bit. But one of the things to remember about your hopping in IPAs is that you have 3 different kinds of hopping. You've got early edition hopping, which takes place within the first hour of the wort boil. That gives you a deep, dank green component and most of your bitterness. You've got late edition hopping, which takes place within the last half hour of the wort boil. A little bit of bitterness, mainly flavour and aroma, and it'll give you quite a bright green component. Then you've got dry hopping, which takes place after the wort boil is complete, and that's all about flavour and aroma, and again it's going to give you a very bright green component. New England hazy IPAs tend to use late edition and dry hopping, which is why they're softer and juicy. Not unheard of to use a little bit of early edition hopping though, whereas West Coast IPAs use all 3. They use a lot of early edition hopping to get that big bitter note, which is why they're deeper and danker. So that's worth bearing in mind, but really with the cryo ones, they smell even smoother than just a regularly pellet hopped New England IPA would. So yeah, interesting. So for me, the fruity side of this one, there's a mix of, I think there's a bit of mosaic in this. I think there's some tangerine orangey notes in there. But yeah, there's a lot of tropical note. I'm getting a wee bit of peach. There is mango, and underneath you've got pineapple as well. But yeah, you've got like pear and apricot and stuff like that. So yeah, peach, mango, I want to say a bit of passion fruit, but yeah, pineapples, and a wee bit of like pear and dried apricot and stuff like that. But quite an oily, fruity character coming out of this one, which I have to say I do really quite enjoy. But yeah, it's got a really nice mix of things going on in it, this one, so gets a thumbs up from me. But yeah, I think that's everything we really need to say about the aroma in this one. I'm quite happy with that. So yeah, as I always say, take a little bit of time to enjoy the aroma of your beer before you get stuck into it. I think this one, yeah, I'm still trying to wonder what hops are in it. Maybe Mosaic and a little bit of like Idaho 7 and Galaxy or something like that. Very, very curious. But yeah, take a bit of time to enjoy the aroma of your beer before you get stuck into it. It's always half the experience with craft beers, and for ingredients nerds like me, it's always fun to try and play guess the ingredients. But yeah, let's have a taste of this one then and see what it's all about. The Quintuple Dry Hopped 7-year anniversary quadruple IPA. I need to check the exact name to name this video, but yeah, let's have a taste of this one then. Happy anniversary to Ārpus Brewing. Slàinte, skål, cheers, and as I believe they say in Latvia, Ishvetika. There we go. That's nice, yeah. Ooh. Happy with that. Definitely happy with that. Now, it's one of these New England hazies, and as you would expect at 11% ABV, it's one of these ones that has that sort of mix of oiliness and kind of creaminess. But I will say as well that this beer, it has a little bit of, it does have a wee bit of like dryness and yeasty kind of farmhousey character to it, as I was saying. It's one of the yeasts, the New England hazy yeasts, that does that. Vermont yeast maybe, couldn't tell you. But yeah, this one I think is really, really very, very nice. So as I say, it gets a big thumbs up from me. Further into the aftertaste you go, you get more of the kind of oaty characteristics, a wee bit of the wheaty bitiness comes out, but yeah, really nicely done beer, this one. Let's break this down and describe it for you a wee bit more in depth. So, yeah, for me, We'll go to the middle third of the palate as we always do. So yeah, let's go there. The backbone of this beer is that lovely kind of fresh white bready bread crust. Really, really like that about this one. So yeah, fresh white bready bread crust in there. As you go further forward from that, you get a little bit of like, you absolutely get a little bit of kind of like Jacob's cream crackery and well, more of a woody kind of note there. But then yeah, above the kind of white bready bread crust, yeah, there's Jacob's cream cracker. On top of that, you get a layer of kind of slightly more, it's like a sweet wholemeal brown bread, I would say. Yeah, so a little bit of sweet wholemeal brown bread in there. On top of that, you get the barley malt, you get that lovely kind of white bready layer coming out of this one. So yeah, lovely kind of fluffier white bready layer. It's got a little bit of, yeah, it's got a little bit of a more kind of fluffy, sweet character as well. And then yeah, above that you get you start to get the more dense wheaty and then oaty notes. So yeah, the wheaty bread in this one is quite interesting because it's really, really dense, but it also has that little bit of sweetness to it. And again, like I said earlier, when it comes to the heavier New England hazy IPAs, I think you've just got to add the kind of brew sugar to them to get it up a little bit, to get the alcohol up. So maybe that's contributing to the sort of sweeter side of these bready flavours that I'm getting. So yeah, barley malt white bread for sure, then the more dense wheaty white bready character as well. And yeah, I do like that about this one for sure. Yeah, it's good stuff. On the, yeah, more dense wheaty kind of notes in there. The wheaty notes are actually really nice in this. So a little bit further back on the palate. As I've often said, sweeter flavours come out further forward, more dry and bitter flavours come out further back. Within that wheaty bready layer, you've got a little bit more bitiness further back on the middle third of your palate, and then yeah, further forward you have further forward you've got more of an oaty sort of creamy. You've got more of the kind of smoother side of the wheat. Sorry, we're not talking about the oats yet. So yeah, more bitey wheat further back and more kind of smooth wheat further forward. But yeah, above the the wheaty layer, you start to get the oats. So like down the middle line of your down the middle line of your palate, you get the lovely kind of big creamy oaty notes. And as you move further out toward the edges of that middle third of your palate, it just gets that little bit drier, I would say. So yeah, it's interesting. The oaty character in this one is really, really nice. And it doesn't actually show, you can pick up a bit of the oaty dryness in the aroma, but it doesn't show that much in the flavour, I would say. But again, the beer is only about 6 weeks old, so not something to worry about too much. Yeah, dead centre of your palate then, you get that little circle there where the kind of boozy esters, or the alcohol comes out of the beer, I should say. So yeah, in the dead centre of your palate, you have that little circle there, and it's like a really concentrated mix of like Werther's Original butter candy type stuff, and you know, like a concentrated biscuit. So you can feel that booziness there, and as you move out from the as you move out from the kind of sides and things like that, it's as you move out toward the sides of your palate there, you get a bit more of a kind of McVitie's digestive biscuit, which is really nice. So yeah, the way that all of that kind of pieces together is nice. The malty middle third of your palate in this one, I think, is really nice. And I like the breadiness. It's got a good balance between the breadiness and the kind of sweeter side of things, and the oaty and wheaty side of this beer is very nice as well. So that's the middle third of your palate. Let's go to the back third of your palate. And then generally speaking, you've got, generally speaking, you have, generally speaking, you have similarities in flavours between middle and back third of your palate. They just come out at different intensities. But yeah, border region between middle and back third of your palate, you get that nice little bit of bready build up in there. You've got the brown bread in the base, the white bread in the middle, and the more wheaty character on top. But then yeah, the base of the back third of your palate, yeah, you've got that fresh kind of white bready bread crust in there. You've got a little bit of the Jacob's cream cracker on top of that. Then you get the brown bready layer, which has that kind of lighter, taller, more airy type quality to it. Then the white bready character sits above that, that lighter, taller, more airy type quality as well. And then on top of that you have the more dense you've got that more dense wheaty kind of note coming out of this one. So pardon me, the more dense wheaty white bready character that's in there is quite nice too. It's got a little bit more bitiness to it for sure, but then creeping on top of that you do get a little bit of the drier side of the oats as well, and then it's all about the yeasty character above that. So let's have a wee look at the yeasty notes coming out of this beer. So the yeasty side of this beer, at its core, it's got like a sort of sweet brown bready note. So there's a kind of sweet brown bready character with this one. So sweet brown bread at the core. As you move further out from that, it gets a little bit more kind of farmhousey. Yeah, it gets a little bit more sort of farmhousey and kind of crackery almost as well. So yeah, I do like how that pieces together. So yeah, your yeasty side of this one, into the aftertaste it comes out a wee bit more, and it just has this kind of grainy brown bready type character there. So in the middle of into the aftertaste you will notice this slightly more farmhousey, brown bready, crackery, grainy sort of thing coming out of this beer. But yeah, in the beginning this one's quite smooth and quite sweet, and then the fruitiness kind of is very juicy in the beginning, but it becomes a slightly more dry fruity character in the aftertaste. But definitely, yeah, back third of your palate you can feel the flavour is taller. Then as you move further forward into the middle third of your tongue, it just kind of condenses down and squashes together that little bit more. Let's go on to the hoppy side of the beer then. That's the malty and yeasty side covered. Back corners of the palate, you absolutely have a little bit of earthiness in there. Then as you move further forward from that, you've got some nice floral aromaticity, good little bit of that in there. A little bit of, you've got a little bit of, I'd say it's kind of smooth floral aromaticity, but yeah, it gets a little bit more kind of spicy as you reach the front corners of your tongue, but round the front curve of your palate, the beer is definitely kind of lighter, more grassy, but you can feel the oiliness in there, which I would attribute to the use of kind of cryo or something like that. Incognito maybe. But yeah, let's look at the front third of your palate then and the fruity side of things. So yeah, the border region between front third and middle third of your palate, you get that nice little bit of kind of bready build up in there. You've got the brown bread in the base, the kind of white bread in the middle, and the more dense wheaty white bread on the top. The base of the front third of your palate is your bread crust again, your cracker, the brown bread, white bread, the smooth kind of smoother side of the wheat, and maybe a little touch of the oat there. But then yeah, you get that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. So yeah, the way that this one goes together in that sense, I think, is really, really nice. But yeah, the fruity side of this one, I do really quite like actually. For me, fruity side of this one, the more I think about it and the more I focus on it, it gets more and more orangey. Could it be a bit of Amarillo maybe? Or Nectaron can I give you that? No, not really actually Nectaron. There's a few orangey hops, but anyway, you've got a nice balance in this one between the tropical side and the orangey side. But yeah, I think the further into the aftertaste you go, it does become a bit more orangey. But I would say for me, the fruits that I'm getting in the actual flavour are a bit different from what I was picking up in the aroma. Or just the balance of them is a wee bit different. So at the back of that fruity bubble, I'm sort of getting There's a little bit of peachy sharpness in there, and underneath that, of course, you've got lovely big ripe juicy mango. There's maybe a little bit of I do get quite a little bit of dried apricot out of this one, and a bit of juicy pineapple. I'm not really getting kind of passion fruit and things, which I think I picked up in the aroma. But yeah, for me, a little bit of peach, big juicy mangoes, a little bit of pineapple as well, and yeah, dried apricot underneath. But yeah, as you move into the front half of the front third of your tongue with this beer, I would say it's really tangerine and really orangey. So yeah, Amarillo or Mosaic in this one. The wee bit of earthiness in the back corners of the palate make me want to say Mosaic, but it's a very oily and almost zesty orange, which makes me want to say Amarillo a bit more. So yeah, the fruity flavours coming out of this one are really interesting. I do like how this goes together. It's quite simple in a way, this beer, in terms of its fruitiness, but it works. And you know, this is one of the things that have made Arpus one of the European masters of the hazy IPA. But yeah, lovely fruity character. This one, I'm a sucker for orangey leaning IPAs, and this one certainly does that. That's for sure. I don't think there's really much else we need to say about the flavour of this one, in honesty, but really nice actually. So let's round off this review then with a wee quick look at the mouthfeel. For me, this beer is kind of full bodied, but it's definitely one of the kind of thicker and more oily New England or quadruple IPAs that I've had. It's not the creamiest, right enough, but it is one of the more oily ones. So I think, yeah, mid-range, full bodied, smooth carbonation, kind of an oily, slick mouthfeel, as I said. Your IBU count in this one is, I think it's a fairly standard sort of 30-ish IBU. The green component is very smooth, like I said. The malt base, wee bit dry underneath, smooth in the middle, and a kind of oily sweetness on top. Then yeah, you've got that nice, juicy, fruity, oily character to it as well. But yeah, all in all, the way that everything goes together in this one, I think, is really nice. So it gets a big thumbs up from me. So yeah, I like that. I do like that about this one. It's a really nicely done beer, and it's kind of in line with what I would expect from Arpus. So absolutely worth trying if you do happen to come across this one. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. So this one was the Quintuple Dry Hop 7-year anniversary quadruple IPA. Just reading it straight off the back of the can there, so I don't forget. I'll need to check the name for Untappd and things as it's listed in the video. But yeah, a really nicely done beer from Arpus once again, and this might well have been the strongest IPA that I've had from these guys thus far, which is food for thought. But yeah, thank you again for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Ārpus Brewing Company as well, and we will no doubt return to these guys again at some point in the fairly near future. But until then, Slanjut, Scott, cheers, check out my social media, check out Ārpus Brewing Company's social media, and I will see you guys again in another review very soon. Ciao just now.